Good morning, everyone. We are out here at ONX Estate today. My name is Jeff Streckis. I'm the Director of Operations for ONX Wines. We're out in block 102, some Syrah you're probably very familiar with from ONX's Crux GSM blend. And today we're here with Ivan Gonzalez talking about pruning. So for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet, Ivan is our new vineyard manager here at ONX Estate and Kyler Canyon Vineyard. He works with Vineyard Professional Services and actually previously worked with a couple different vineyard management companies up in Napa and the North Coast. And before that was a student here locally at Cal Poly. And I think most interestingly, his dad is actually a foreman on site here as well. So I've always wondered, when you two argue about something, do you get to call rank, or how awkward does that make it?
Well, you know, sometimes we do Rochambeau. It usually seems to work out well that way. So yeah, right usually we have similar styles, I would say, but sometimes we do find level ground and decide on something. Yeah.
Cool. Well, lesson for all of us. Even later in life, it pays to maintain those familial relationships. So pruning, super important time of year. I always like to refer to it as giving the vines their annual haircut, but then again, not everyone has my particular grooming style. We do cut them pretty short here, but I'm going to hand it off to Ivan so that he can tell you all about it.
Sounds good. Yeah, so what we're looking at here is we're looking at a cordon style training, spur pruned vineyard. The way we kind of prune these vineyards is kind of on a singular axis here, vertically growing. What we're looking at of these vines is to control the amount of growth that we're getting out of here. If we were to let these grow wild, they would do kind of their own thing. So with vines like this, what we're looking for is to prune shoots that would be fruitful for this coming year, but at the same time trying to control our vigor as far as managing practices goes. Pruning them down onto kind of what we've trained it out to be will allow us to further manage these vines in a proper manner, at the same time achieve the yields that we're looking for. So to look at kind of the anatomy of the vine here, what we're looking at is obviously the trunk coming from the ground. From there, we're looking at this bilateral cordon training of the vine, which allows it to grow split from the trunk. And moving up from there, we're looking at these spurs that were formed year after year, and the part just coming out from the spur itself are the two fruiting canes that will tend to later in the year shoot thin towards producing kind of where our crop is maintained. Beautiful thing about this is we're able to train kind of our crop to be within what we call our fruiting zone, which is in this area right here in particular. But yeah, let's, if you guys want, we'll go straight into pruning and kind of describe what's going on. So when approaching these vines, what we're looking for is positions that'll keep us down low and centered on, so they can grow kind of within what we have in our trellis system here. If we're kind of moving outside of that spectrum, it makes the management aspect a little bit difficult as we kind of move out through the year. So I'm also looking, like I said, for lower positions that keeps these spurs from continuously wanting to grow up and eventually pushing our fruit zone further higher than what we really want it at. So I'll come here. We'll look at this spur in particular right there. I'm looking at these two shoots that we left from last year. The better position that we'd be choosing from would be this lower one over here. I'm looking for two clear buds, which I would prune to. And then over here, we'll prune that off. That'll allow us to have just two shoots coming out of this position itself. These are spatially spread apart in such a manner that will allow the fruit to not clump up and to actually get some good spatial preference to the leaf patterns, the way they're kind of laid out. Will allow us to get some good air movement in there as well as sun, and allow us to better continue some of our practices. So each one of these, obviously they've grown naturally in their position, but we're trying to keep them low and keep them in such a way that keeps them there in that space that we'd want them in. When we're looking, this is a good example here on this spur. When we're looking particular for spurs for next year that will help us keep this vine fruitful, we're looking for shoots that have coming off wood from last year's growth. These shoots over here that's coming off of maybe a 3rd or 4th year cut down over here will not be as fruitful. So what we call these water shoots, we're kind of trying to prune off. And then same thing, we'll choose those 2 positions there. Come down here, keep that low. You just kind of move along the vine in this way. Like I said, I'm looking for those positions that are down below, but up straight, something that can grow inside our trellising system in here. All the cuttings that we're cutting away usually end up getting tossed in the ground. We'll end up cutting that up and reincorporating that into the soil. It's just kind of getting rid of any of this material that could be carrying disease from last year, or extra powdery mildew spores, and we're putting them down in the row. They'll eventually get incorporated, and we're not having to deal with it later in the year. But yeah, that right there is how you prune your bilateral cordon spur pruned vine.